the night. We jump and touch the light. We dance and we don't sleep until death. We don't have to worry. Drink up the lights early.
Ready?
Dance and dance and talk for running right.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak video. Today we're going to be covering the Valor Longsword for Sunbreak mod added in through Monster Hunter Rise Nexus mods from Yai Sakura, created by Yun and ZBZ. This is originally a mod that came out back in February, but it's been updated for Sunbreak. It has a lot of cool features to add, and it mainly adds back the Valor style from Monster Hunter Double Cross or Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. If you've played that, you're going to be very familiar with this moveset. If not, we're going to go over it in detail. But first, what I want to show you is how to install the mod. So we're going to go to the Nexus mod. I'll leave a link in the description below for the link to this mod. And then you're just going to want to click on Files. Make sure to manually download the Valor Longsword files. Once you've downloaded it, then we can open it up using 7-zip or WinRAR or any other archive extractor. You're going to see we have three files: a .pack, a ReFramework.7zip, and then a guide.docs. This is going to be the installation guide. If my instructions are not clear enough, you can refer back to this on how to install the mod into your game. But I'm going to be showing you step by step how to do that. We're going to start by dragging and dropping this .pack file into our Monster Hunter Rise installation folder. So if you're not familiar, that folder is going to be wherever you have the Monster Hunter Rise.exe file. For me, I installed it on my E drive through Steam, so it's going to be in Steam Library, Steam Apps Common, Monster Hunter Rise, and it should be pretty similar for most other people. It'll be in whatever drive that you installed the game on. So once you are in this folder, you're going to drag and drop the pack file in. And as you can see, the name of the pack file has 00Y in it. We're going to change the 00Y to 001 like it shows here. So you're just going to rename it from Y to 1. I already had done that, so we're going to hit no here. And I'm just going to remove the file, but it will essentially look like this. Once you've done that, it'll be able to read the pack file, and then we can go and install the rest of the files. So go into your ReFramework folder. You do need ReFramework as a requirement for this mod. So if you don't have that installed, I'll leave a link in the description below on how to install ReFramework. I've already covered that in a previous video. But once you have it installed, you're going to go to the ReFramework folder, and then in the Valor Longsword download folder, you're going to go to the ReFramework 7-zip folder. You're going to drag and drop the fonts and auto run files into your ReFramework folder, which I've already done so. So what that's going to be mainly adding is just the Valor Longsword Lua file and Valor Longsword folder into the auto run folder, and then in the fonts folder, we're getting a OTF file. So once you've done that, you're good to go. The mod is installed. I do want to warn you that if you have the Feminine Hunter Animations mod, which is also available on the Nexus, that is incompatible with this mod and will mess up the animations for it. So you're going to want to uninstall that if you don't want any compatibility issues with those two mods, because it will end up breaking your Valor Longsword mod or making it act very weird. So that's all you have to worry about. Once you've done this, you're good to go, and we can go in game now. Okay, and now I'm going to cover the gameplay changes added in by this mod. It's going to heavily alter the longsword playstyle. For those of you who are already familiar with Special Sheath and Sacred Sheath, it's going to really change things up for you. The wire bugs have been replaced with hunter arts, and the normal moveset has been heavily restricted in favor of the Valor Mode moveset, which unlocks kind of a way cooler and new guard point ability, which is going to be one of your main sources of damage. So to briefly summarize, when you sheath your weapon now, it's going to be doing a Valor Sheath, So essentially, if you get hit during this extended sheathing animation, you're going to be allowed to evade any attack and then automatically sheath your weapon. You can also do a follow-up attack if you don't want to evade, or if you want to build up spirit gauge meter. Now you're going to notice your spirit gauge, instead of going from white to yellow to red, is just going to go from empty to blue. And this blue spirit gauge is what unlocks the Valor mode for the weapon. So you can build up the spirit gauge by attacking normally, by performing the Valor sheathing evasion, or by doing the Valor sheathing follow-up attack as shown on screen. And then once you've actually unlocked the blue gauge, you're going to see your screen just flash a color blue, and then you're going to see your spirit gauge meter becomes blue. So prior to this, when your spirit gauge is empty, you actually can't fade slash and you cannot complete your full spirit combo. So you're going to be missing a lot of your usual longsword moves when you're in this normal mode. But once you unlock the Valor mode and you have the blue spirit gauge, then you can start using the fade slash again, and your spirit combo becomes a spirit reckoning combo, which is now unlocked and does a ton of damage. You're going to see that the spirit slash, or the spirit blade 1 attack, actually has a full-on guard point. This is going to be your main damage dealer because you're going to be guard pointing and countering the enemy attacks consistently. It can be used back to back to back to back. You can keep repeating this move as long as you have the spirit gauge for it, and it's a very high damage counter. So this is kind of the main point of Valor mode. This is why a lot of players, especially veterans from GU, really love this playstyle. It's super counter heavy, but also very positional, very timing based. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And now we're going to get into the Hunter arts. Now, in a very similar manner to how the Hunter art gauges worked in Monster Hunter Rise Generations Ultimate, you're going to have to attack the monster consistently to build up gauge meter, and then once it's turned red, you can actually activate the respective Hunter art that you're using. They charge at different rates depending on the usability and effectiveness of the skill. So first up is the Absolute Readiness skill, which replaces Soaring Kick. This Hunter art allows you to dodge an incoming attack while also sharpening your weapon if you successfully iframe it. Next up is Serene Pose, which is now Critical Juncture, and this is pretty much the same ability, but it just does much higher damage, and again, it has a much longer gauge meter to fill up and essentially cooldown to activate. Then we have the Silkbind Sakura Slash, which is just now a Sakura Slash. It will be doing the exact same thing it did previous, but with less ticks of damage, and each tick dealing more damage. Then we have the Harvest Moon being replaced with Unhinged Spirit. This is going to grant us infinite spirit gauge for the duration of the ability. So it's kind of similar to Harvest Moon, but no arena. You don't have to worry about the garbage mechanics around Harvest Moon that you normally have to worry about. So this one's just a nice little buff to have. And then last but not least, we have the Tempered Spirit Blade being replaced by Devouring Demon. Now this will give you a constant health drain similar to Dereliction, but it'll be much more rapid. And attacks will heal similar to Blood Blight, and your damage is increased by 1.3 times. So it's pretty much the same as Adrenaline. You can't use this with Adrenaline because you're going to heal when you attack. However, this is a really massive damage buff if you can remain aggressive. Alright, so that pretty much covers everything in terms of installation and what you're actually going to get with this mod, and sort of how the Valor Longsword playstyle works. There probably are a lot of guides for Generations Ultimate on how the Valor Longsword playstyle works, so if you're still a little bit confused on what you should be doing, how you should be weaving in your moves together to deal maximum damage, then you can take a look at some Generations Ultimate speedruns. The gameplay is going to be a little bit different because of how the mechanics work in Sunbreak. However, they're quite similar to kind of my surprise. I'm actually a little shocked how much of the moveset from Generations Ultimate was replicated in Sunbreak, and I'm actually really impressed with this mod overall. So to give you some of my own thoughts on the Valor Longsword playstyle in Sunbreak and how it compares to, the more other popular playstyles such as the Special Sheath playstyle, which utilizes, EI Spirit Slash alongside Harvest Moon and then Spirit Helmbreaker for most of the DPS, as well as the Sakura Silkbind Slash and Sacred Sheath playstyle. Both of those are kind of the meta speedrunning playstyles. Valor Longsword, from my experience so far, is probably not going to be able to push either one in terms of higher DPS for speedrunning. However, with that being said, it is very strong. It's a lot of fun to play, and overall, it's just a nice homage to the good old games of, you know, Monster Hunter Generations, Monster Hunter 4, all that good stuff. It really does remind you of the older days of Monster Hunter, where you're really kind of just staying still and waiting for the monster to attack you, landing that perfect counter, hitting good positioning on the Spirit Reckoning follow-up attack, because that's going to be a lot of your damage actually. But yeah, it's very different. If you haven't played Generations Ultimate, you might actually be in for a pleasant surprise, or you might just find this playstyle to be too slow. It really does depend on the player. You know, me personally, I actually enjoy this a lot. I might actually be using this mod for some videos if I have the chance to. But I have been a little bit busy, so we'll see. But yeah, I think the Valor Longsword playstyle is perfectly viable. It's not going to be like more DPS if you're speedrunning. Well, maybe, you know, maybe it could be. A lot of the damage that you get out of this playstyle is from landing your Spirit Reckoning combo. The harass damage that you do from landing your counters repeatedly does add up quite a lot. But yeah, you're going to notice the motion values on your Spirit Reckoning are pretty massive, and you can deal, you know, even more than 1,000 damage in some instances, depending on the hit zones of the final hit of the Spirit Reckoning attack. Also, the critical juncture attack has way higher motion values than the Serene Pose and regular Sunbreak, so that's an attack you should definitely take advantage of. It usually will get a part break or a stagger, which is really nice. And yeah, I think overall these moves are well balanced. They're not overtuned. They're not undertuned. I mean, they probably could be a little bit stronger just to be more competitive with other weapons. But as you can see here against this Narg, I'm able to pull, you know, around 100 DPS, and I'm not even that practiced yet on the Valor Longsword playstyle in Sunbreak. So you could probably bring it up to at least 150. It would be competitive-ish with Special Sheath if the player wasn't going to be using Harvest Moon to maximum effectiveness, which is, you know, more often than not the case. So, you know, this might actually be a more viable playstyle for some players than others. And I know that, you know, my most recent video with the comparison of Special Sheath and Sacred Sheath, a lot of people actually commented how they didn't like either playstyle. So I think for those people who feel kind of estranged in terms of Longsword with Rise and Sunbreak, do give this mod a shot. You're probably gonna like this a lot more if you don't prefer either of the, you know, Special Sheath or Sacred Sheath playstyles. But yeah, I'm just gonna leave you guys with, you know, the rest of the footage for this hunt against a Lucent Nargacuga. Go check out the mod on Nexus Mods. Link will be in the description. If you do need any help, just leave a comment. The ReFramework tutorial, that's also going to be in the comment section. I mean, that's also going to be in the description of the video. As always, thank you so much for watching the video. If you did make it to the end, bravo to you. You know, do leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. It always helps out. And as always, there's going to be more Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak content in the future, and maybe some more varied content in addition if I have time for it. But yeah, we'll see. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.